Okay. I was just making sure I had that correct. Good afternoon, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, whatever is relevant to you if you're not in the same time zone or watching this later. Welcome to MDE 54. So you'll notice that it's MDE and not MTH. Don't really worry about that. That's not going to be a huge issue. The first thing I want to say, well, first of all, I'm assuming that all or almost all of you have already watched the lectures for the associated Math 154 if you are my student. If you are not my student for Math 154, I need you to email me and you'll see this later again. I'm going to repeat myself in a couple of aspects. But I do need you to email me to let me know who your Math 154 teacher is. If you're taking this on a different campus, this setup might not work. You may need to enroll in a more appropriate MDE. These are supposed to be paired with only one professor because, as I mentioned in my Math 154 classes, the way this course runs is you don't have to teach exactly the same stuff every single time, and all teachers don't have to teach exactly the same stuff. One teacher can focus on one aspect a little more or a little less, and this definitely happens. In particular, I like to focus a lot on finances, where maybe there's some other professors who want to focus a lot more on heavy Excel use, whereas I'm more of like a light to medium Excel use. So again, for this reason, if you don't have me for your 154, which you're supposed to for this section, enrollment kind of messes some things up, unfortunately. Maybe you need to reconsider where you're enrolled for either 154 or for 54. Now, my 154s are all completely full. So if you're a 54 student who does not have me for 154, you'd have to swap out the 54 and then try and get the 54 for your 154 teacher. I hope I didn't just confuse you. So anyways, same for my Math 154 students. There is a course shell for this through Mymathlab. You will have assignments in there, and that course ID is Beckner 48336. You have to enroll by 5 p.m. tomorrow or you would be deleted. And if you are a student of mine in 154 and 54, being deleted from one means you're deleted from both. There are no exceptions. So if you enroll in the regular 154 course, but not this one, you'll get deleted, or vice versa. And again, I don't want to delete anybody. I want everybody to stay. It just makes things a lot easier, obviously, for everybody. But you have to be willing to put in that 5 minutes of time, because it really is just 5 minutes to enroll. And you've already seen how to enroll if you watch the 154 video. I'm going to show you that here as well. If you are a 154 student, you're going to get a lot of the same information. And I apologize for that aspect, but it is what it is, right? So some important dates. We have no school on Monday, January 18th, or the Monday, March 8th and Wednesday, March 10th due to Martin Luther King Day and then spring break respectively. Your tuition refund deadline is January 27th, and your last day to withdraw without academic penalty is March 26th. Unless I ever ask, please make sure that your mics are muted throughout class. I will be doing a mixture of recorded material and live material. I am speaking live right now, and everything today will be live, but I will be injecting some pre-recorded stuff before. As I said, I know half, if not more, of y'all have issues with working from home. You got, people coming in and out of the room, dogs barking, screaming kids, people knocking on your doors, your houses falling apart. Some of these may apply to you, may apply to me. So sometimes I just have to use pre-recorded material, but that doesn't mean I'm not here. I would still be here in the chat. So if I say, hey, I got a pre-recorded lecture going, it just means that if you say anything into the mic, I'm not necessarily going to hear you because I might have stepped away for a moment because, like I said, crazy stuff happens. Or someone's in the room or whatever. So I try and ask people to keep their questions in the chat, which is there. If I do have a pre-recorded video, then what you'll notice is 2 of me in chat, and I'll make sure that if you need to private message me, one of them will say PM here. because it's a secondary device and I might not be sitting at the computer at that moment. I might not see it for another 5 minutes. If you ever post a question in chat and you don't get a response within a few minutes, just post it again, because sometimes my secondary device freezes up and it closes Zoom. And then when I load it back up, my chat is completely empty, unfortunately. So it's just small little technological blips that we have to deal with along the way. But I think this is a pretty good format. We had a good experience last semester dealing with this. How many more semesters is this going to be going on? We don't know, but we will certainly find out. All right, so we got our course dates. That'll be good. Let's go ahead and talk about the syllabus. So learning support for quantitative reasoning. Again, if you are in MDE 54, and you're not signed up for Math 154 at the same time, that's not going to fly. You'll be removed either by your teacher or by someone in enrollment. Yeah, that's all I really need to say there. So we got for some reason, the syllabi stopped putting the meeting time, and I think that has to deal with the distance learning aspect, but we know it's Monday, Wednesday, 12:30 to 1:45. For all the semester, except for the couple days that we already said. You will need to purchase your course materials no later than within 14 days. I'm going to show you how to set up your free 14-day trial today, but then after that, you'll be locked out. So if you don't have your materials within 14 days, that means you won't be able to participate at all. You're going to be earning zeros, and then after like a week of that, I will remove you from the class because you can't participate. Out of those two course material options, which are here and here, you only have to buy one of them, and you only have to buy it once. The materials that are for 154 are the exact same materials that are for MDE 54, this course. So you have to purchase one of these two things, not both, one or the other. One of them does not come with the workbook. One of them does. So the first one does not have the workbook. It's a little cheaper. It's like 100 in the bookstore, maybe 75 online through Mymathlab. I think if you buy the one with the workbook, if you can buy it through Mymathlab, if they'll mail it to you or something, I want to say that was like 120 or 130. Buying it through the bookstore, it's about 140. They got to have their profits. So there is no printed textbook. This is an e-text only. But Mr. Beckner, I'm sorry, hold on for 5 seconds. But Mr. Beckner, you just said book. There's definitely a book. No, I said workbook. I said worksheets. I said guided activities. Text and workbook are two completely different things, as I had to explain many times over and over and over earlier today. But it's understandable that I have to explain it over and over. It's confusing. It's weird. It's an electronic text only. There literally does not exist the physical textbook for this book. It does not exist. The workbook is a smaller just set of activities that you'll be going over in the Math 154 course, and I will occasionally bring these up in MDE 54. I'll have them on the screen as a PDF, and the reason that you can buy one of these two things, and you only have to buy one of these two things, well, why don't you have to buy the worksheets if you're going to use them? Because they're available to you digitally, which will show you where they were or where they are later. You are going to need a calculator. We do recommend that you have an actual calculator. Cell phones are fine for normal life and math in the real world, which is what this class is really for. But when you're taking a test in Math 154, cell phones are not to be used as calculators. And if you've been using your cell phone for the whole semester and then you buy a calculator one day before the final, you're not going to be used to it. You're probably going to make errors, and that's going to hurt your grade. So go ahead and get the calculator that you need for the rest of the semester. Get used to it. I don't care if it's a scientific calculator or a graphing calculator or whatever. You can even use the calculator that's built into your computer. And that would be fine, as long as we don't have a lockdown browser for the midterm or the final, which if you're my student, we'll go over that in the actual Math 154 course. All right, so big syllabus. It's like 13 pages. We're just going to kind of breeze through this as much as possible. Email is listed. Please email me if you have any questions. Office phone number, I don't even know if I'll be in my office at all this semester. So if you leave an email, I can't promise that I'll get back to you. email, if you leave an email, if you leave a voicemail, excuse me. So please make sure the emails or the messages are going to rbeckner@tcc.edu. Please make sure that if it's regarding this course, that in the email title you say MDE 54, Monday, Wednesday, 12:30, and then a subject that's relevant to it, you know, review materials, videos, Mymathlab, whatever it might be. All right, so prereq, coreq, well, you have to have passed what we call our old developmental maths, Math 3, Math 5, MDE 10, or just been placed. And the placement aspect is kind of weird because we don't really do placement for the majority of our TCC students anymore. You place yourself. So hopefully you've placed yourself accordingly with the help of an advisor. And I believe that advising is going a lot better this semester because I have a full class. Last semester, I did not have anywhere close to a full class. And the enrollment for it was coming in the last second, whereas most of you have been enrolled for a month or two, which is awesome. Kudos, keep doing that. Enroll in your classes as soon as possible. It helps out places like TCC because classes get canceled when students enroll too late. And that hurts a lot of people. But the co-rec is mandatory. You have to be in Math 154 as said, as stated. General education core competencies, I'm not going to read all that, but this is about quantitative literacy, lizardy, I almost said, quantitative literacy, which just means being good with numbers, being able to read numbers well, being able to handle numbers well. That's all it means. It just sounds scary. Our world is padded with PC language and quantitative analysis, quantitative literacy, quantitative reasoning. Those are all just PC terms for good with numbers, able to be numerate. Required course text and supplemental materials. We've already talked about that, but then it also has the, oh, I'm sorry, I had scrolled back up. That's what it was. And internet access. You're definitely not going to handle this course without internet access, whether it's at home or a library if you choose to go out in public or wherever else. There are definitely internet access points outside of TCC and other places. So do what you have to survive. That's all we can do. So aside from the stuff we cover in 154, what exactly are we covering in MDE 54? Because we're going to be teaching you stuff so that you're hopefully able to be successful in the other course. That's the real goal of this current course we're talking about. So in my 154 course, I talk about how a lot of students might be going in there without a lot of the prereq knowledge that you're supposed to know. Like you're supposed to know how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide decimals. And you know, you're allowed calculators the whole time in here, so maybe that's not the end of the world, but it's still a good skill to have because if you don't have a calculator on hand, what do? You're supposed to know how to handle adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing with fractions in the Math 154 course already. You're supposed to know how to handle sign numbers like 3 minus 7 or 14 divided by -2 or -14 divided by -2, whatever. You're supposed to know your exponent rules. You're supposed to be able to handle formulas. You're supposed to be able to handle simple solving of equations like 2x plus 5 equals 17. Maybe you placed yourself into that course, but don't have a lot of this prereq knowledge. That's why you're at MDE 54. Maybe it's been 10 or 15 years since your last math class, and you decided that you and your advisor decided, counselor, whatever you want to call them, that you didn't need to be in that class. You could go ahead straight to this more real world approach, but you still need to do something along parallel. So that's why you're in this MDE 54. So we're going to teach you all that stuff about adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing fractions and decimals and sign numbers and handling exponents and order of operations and your units and measurements and scientific notation, simple algebraic expressions and equations, that 2x plus 5 equals 17 thing I mentioned. We're going to go over Excel use a lot more than we do in the Math 154. In Math 154, the next week's worth of material will be explicitly talking about Excel. We're going to create a file together. But then after that, I won't talk about Excel nearly as much in the course. I will, for like one class after that, I'll mention a few more ins and outs. And then I'll occasionally use it in class to show an idea like how your interest can compound over years or months or whatever, what your mortgage looks like, what your credit card payments look like, things like that. But I won't spend a ton of time developing them. I kind of just go straight at it. Whereas with the MDE, you will see a few more days where I go, all right, here's a nice slow approach on how we can set up this and how we can use this basic idea in many ways in the future. like all those things I mentioned, like a credit card payment, a mortgage payment, getting retirement money through compound interest. All of those are almost identical in how you set them up in Excel. Rough course schedule of where the MDE 54 is, and just like Math 154, we don't go by the books on this. I cannot 100% say that in week 10 these are the concepts we'll be working on, or week 7 these are the concepts we'll be working on. So I just kind of slowly go through each of these things during class time. Sometimes I'll be pulling up the Mymathlab homework and we'll be going over questions and answers directly with that. You'll see my numbers. Your homework will look very similar, but would have different numbers, but they would be all the same problems. Sometimes we'll focus more on the actual math side of things, but then other times we'll focus more on the non-math side of things that is important at a developmental level, because we really do need to build ourselves up from the first brick of this house and keep working and working and working until we get to the chimney. And that first brick isn't just 3 plus 5 is 8, or 3 minus 5 is -2, or a half plus a third is 5/6. That can be understanding how you learn, what your learning process is. Do you learn better by listening? Do you learn better by reading? Do you learn better by writing? Do you learn better by applying? It's very important to understand that. So we're going to kind of, have some conversations about that and how you might be able to figure that out. And then there's activities in Mymathlab to kind of push you in that direction. Study skills. A lot of us don't really know how to study. We just sit in the classroom, we don't take notes, and then we go home and we do the homework, and then that's it. We just kind of twiddle our thumbs and then take a test. How do we study? How do we organize notes? How do we take good notes, as I just said? What's the college transition like? This isn't grade 13, this is college. And high school, you're in the classroom for 2 hours and then you're expected to do 1 hour of homework. In college, it's flip-flopped. You're in class for 1 hour and then you're supposed to go 2 hours of homework for that 1 hour of class. That's a big deal. In high school, you're in class 30 hours a week and doing 15 hours of homework. In college, you're in class 15 hours a week on a normal schedule, and then you're doing 30 hours of homework, and that's your full-time job. That's why we tell students don't have a full-time job and a full-time schedule, because if you're working 40 hours a week and then you're taking 15 credits, that 15 credits equates to 45 hours of your life between study and in class time. Now, does it have to be exactly 45? No, some people are quicker and maybe they only spend 35 or 40 hours. Some people might have to take a little bit longer, or they're a lot more behind in concepts and things like that. Or they're just not as numerate and really do have to practice and do things over and 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 over. And I tell you what, that is most people's problem. When you go to the gym and you pick up a weight and you do it 10 or 15 times, and then you do it 10 or 15 times, and then you do it 10 or 15 times, and then you go home. And if it's the first time you've done that, you get a little sore the next morning probably, and you might be sore for a couple days. And then you go back to the gym and you do the same exercise, the same number of times, the same reps, same sets, and then you might not be sore the next day because your body is growing. And that is a very important aspect, a growth mindset, to know that when you do things over and over and over, you learn. Just like your muscle learns and it grows, your brain obviously learns and it grows by doing things over and over. If you say 5 plus 7 is 12, and you say that one time in your life, you do it again, it's going to go a lot slower. And it doesn't have to be just the 5 plus 7 is 12, 2 plus 3 is 5. Just doing those operations over and over makes you better. So one thing that you can do on your time off is just practice with your basic arithmetic skills. Go online, find a game, or just find a worksheet. Do simple 1 and 2 digit math over and over and over. Get yourself warmed up. Because your brain, just like your muscles, can grow if you use it enough, if you use them enough. Financial literacy. This is a big aspect of this course, especially with me teaching it. I'm a huge fan of financial literacy, talking about smart credit card use, talking about good money borrowing use, like borrowing for a home, maybe for a car, setting yourself up for retirement, setting yourself up for emergency funds, creating monthly budgets so that a bill that comes out of left field doesn't just knock you off your roll. Time management. Oh boy, time management. This is another one of what I like to call Americans, just classic issues. We don't know how to manage our time. We spend 6 hours watching TV or 6 hours on our phone or 6 hours talking with friends. And then we're doing homework at 1 a.m. when we got to be in class at 8 a.m. and that doesn't always work. So we'll talk about that. The growth mindset, we already mentioned, understanding that no matter what place we're in, where we are in our lives, we can grow. Math feels insanely hard to some of you, I know, but you can grow if you practice. You just have to hit this and hit this and hit this, and you will get better at it, I promise you. But if you don't believe that you can grow, you probably won't grow. Memory techniques, the power of making mistakes. Oh boy, this one right here. This is the story of my life. This is the story of most people's lives. You make mistakes, you fail, but you get up, you try again, and you do better ultimately. We learn by making mistakes. That is the number one way that most people learn, is by doing something wrong and then doing something right. And what you will see from me, especially in this MDE 54 course, is I will make mistakes over and over and over intentionally, and then I'll go, well, hold on, does that make sense? And then I'll go, maybe not. And then we try and find that mistake that doesn't make sense, and we go from there. Now, you might see me 1 or 2 or 3 times actually make a legit mistake, and I will always admit when I make a mistake. I'll have a good laugh at it, and then I'll go, see what happens? I learned, I made a mistake. I asked myself, did it make sense? It didn't. I found the mistake, and we corrected it. That is so powerful. Most of these are kind of just stuff we can just get to when we get to. I won't go over every single one of them in class, and then I'll say, all right, you just need to focus on that on your own time. Or if we get past week 10 and I didn't go over anything about the power of yet, then that says, hey, I need to actually go to that homework on my own. And each of these weeks, you'll have 2 homework assignments in Mymathlab, one of them for the first topic and one of them for the second topic, which will show you, do we want to do it now? Yeah, we'll do it now. I'll do the how you create an account later. So I'll just bounce to this for a quick second and then come back later. I just want to show you what those assignments look like. Maybe. I have my ad block browser off, right? Yes. All right. So week 1, week 1, week 2, week 2, week 3, week 3, week 4, week 4, week 5, week 5. So that's what I was talking about. Some of these will have videos in them. Some of them just have a whole bunch of questions. The number of questions varies greatly. So this one's got 56 questions, and this one has 47 questions. Some of them later are much shorter. This one's only got 17 questions. So it's always, with each week, one of them is a math-based thing, and the other is a more just general, real world topic. Stress management. Oh boy, everyone else get that pit in their stomach when they're about to take a math test? I know you do. How do we manage stress? How do we get better at memorizing things? Oh, math, not math. This looks a little weird because someone put the title in quotes and my math lab got confused. Don't worry about that part though. So let's see, is this one where it's just videos? No. All right, anything that says E, I believe that's just a video. Or no, it's something you have to type out. That's what it is, yeah. You type like a sentence or a paragraph or whatever. That's what the E means. Most of those come later. Come on, where are the ones with videos? Here we go. So here's one where it's just videos. That's the entire assignment. Click, watch, and then answer a quick little blurb about it. So I got to put this on mute or YouTube will flag me later because it's got music in it. So you can't hear anything right now, unfortunately, but you can watch this video on your own. And there might be 1 or 2 times where I let YouTube flag me. This one in particular, growth mindset, really, really awesome. All right, so that's how your homeworks work. Back to the syllabus, and we'll come back to Mymathlab a little more later. COVID-19 policy, pretty normal. If this is your first semester, just make sure you read the reopening plan. It's the same for spring 2021. I don't think anything has changed at all. That syllabus should have a hyperlink to it. So you can see there when I hover over it, you can hit Control and click it to follow the link. All right, grade policy. I'm missing a letter here. There we go. In order to remain in Math 154, students must attend and participate in MDE 54. Students who fail to attend and participate for 3 or more classes may be dropped. This will result in you being dropped from Math 154 as well. So not only do you have to participate in 154 and go to that class and do the homework, you have to do the same for MDE 54. You have to attend these lectures. You have to do those homeworks. Now, there is a comment here that is a blanket comment I did not put in myself. This is just what it says, and I don't like the fact that it's there so specific. It says students with a B or higher in Math 154 do not need to continue attending 54 as long as they maintain their B. This is questionable. I don't care if you think you have a 100 average. If you're in my 154 and my 54, if you're going to stop coming to 54, you need to email me and make sure that it's okay. You have got to be an all-star student for me to allow that. Okay, I need to make sure that's clear. This is not a policy that I believe in, especially because the grades can change wildly throughout the semester. You might have a perfect A in the first week because you turned in the syllabus quiz, but then, oh, okay, well, I've got an A, so I don't have to be in 54 anymore. Hold your horses. So this policy, I will not invoke until halfway through the semester. You've got to attend at least the first half. You've got to attend until the midterm. Then that's when I go, okay, or a student might email me, hey, Mr. Beckner, I've gotten A's on everything. I've turned everything in. Do I need to continue in 54? And I'll say yes or no. But if you just stop showing up in 54, if you stop doing the assignments in 54, and you haven't talked to me about that, I will drop you, and you will be dropped from both 54 and 154 because of that. So communication is the key with me. I'm all about communication. Your final grades will be delivered via MyTcc, which is in or SIS is in MyTcc. So don't email me and ask me for grades. I already mentioned in 154, I will never give average grades up to 154 students because I'm going to teach them that. But here's the thing for this class, and it's something it's another questionable side of this course. Your grade is attendance in here. Now, attendance also means keeping up with the homework. It doesn't mean that you have to have an 80 or a 90 or 100 on all of those homeworks. I mean, you saw some of them have like 50 questions, and you might be thinking, well, these are all ridiculously easy. That's a bad one. Do I really need to do all 47 of these questions if I'm just acing all of them? Well, I would suggest at least look at them. But if you just know, oh, I can do this, I got this, that's okay. But you have to do something. So if I see a student has zeros on all of their assignments and it's 6 weeks in, or 3 weeks in really, they're gone. If they did their assignments for the first 3 weeks and then they stop and it's week 6 and they haven't been doing any more assignments, they're gone. But I'm not looking for a magic grade. I'm also not looking for you to have a 1 or a 5 on it either. You need to get a realistic grade, at least 50%, and that is generous at best. So again, the weirdness of this course is there are no official grades. This is not an A, B, C, D, F course. This is a you passed, you failed, or you were withdrawn. If you stop doing the homeworks, I will withdraw you. If you don't attend the lectures, I will withdraw you. But I'm not going to say you have to get an 80 on these homeworks, or a 90 on these homeworks, or 100 on these homeworks. Use your best judgment. I hope that makes sense. If you fail this course, you automatically fail 154. If you pass this course and you pass 154, then you move on. But failing one does lead to failing the other. Students are expected to submit MyMathLab assignments. We've already talked about that. Read their text. As I mentioned in the regular class, you're supposed to be reading one section ahead. I suggest you do that as well. Look a week ahead into the homeworks if you really want to. If you email me, I'll get back to you within 1 business day, which means weekends, I might only get back to you on Monday. Monday evening at the worst. If there's ever an instance, sorry, my voice is going out today. I've been talking a lot. If you ever email me and I haven't gotten back to you and it's been 2 or 3 business days, just email me again. I probably read it and then didn't have the time to reply because I had 20 or 30 emails or something else was just happening at that time, or I started drafting an email and then something else happened. So I always get back to you unless something comes up, and then just say, hey, Mr. Beckner, what's the status on that? And again, make sure in the emails it says MDE 54, Monday, Wednesday, 12:30. Attendance, we already talked about. Late, I mean, if you show up late, that's fine. That's not a big deal. If you have to leave early, that's fine. If you can't attend during the actual lecture, that's okay as well. If you're having to watch the videos on YouTube, if you know you're going to have to do that frequently, you need to email me and let me know, because I do look at the participation list on that Zoom menu. If you have it at the top or bottom of your screen, I know you can't see anything I'm looking at right now, but I see 15 people out of my 18 students. So a student who is not attending the live lectures but is doing the assignments, if they've emailed me and said, hey, Mr. Beckner, I am watching the stuff on YouTube, maybe I ask you a quick question or something like that just to kind of confirm it, but that would be okay, because like I said, I know some of us have things going on and all of a sudden you got to run out the door, or you got a kid screaming, or your animal is spilling things on the carpet or the floor or whatever. A 60 would technically be passing 54, but no, if you fail 54, that means that you fail 154. There is no grade, there is no percentage for this course. It's, did you attend the whole time? Did you do the homework? Then you passed. That's it. I don't assign any grades. You all have a 100 right now, or a 90 right now, or an 80 right now, whatever you want to consider it. All of you, I would say, since you're all here today, you all have 100s. But again, there is no grade percentage. So if you had a 75 in 154 and you attended and did homeworks in 54, you're good. You passed. If you had a 75 in 154 and you did not attend MDE 54, excuse me, and you did not do any assignments, then you would have been withdrawn from the course and you couldn't pass 154 to begin with. I hope that clears that up. So if you're doing well in Math 154, stay on top of MDE 54. If you're an A student, then after the midterm, email me and say, hey, do I really need to keep doing the 54 stuff? And if you're an A student, I'd probably say, no, you don't. You're good. You're cool. So yeah, again, attendance, because I cannot 100% enforce live attendance, and having someone make a comment on YouTube to say that they attended doesn't say they did the whole thing. So for me, attendance is much more centered around the assignments, but I still will look at the participant list. And if I stop seeing a name over and over in that class, and they haven't emailed me and said, hey, Mr. Beckner, I'm watching stuff on YouTube, I still reserve the right to then call that the attendance. So it's kind of a catch-22. But trust me, I don't want to withdraw you. I want you to be successful. So just do this stuff and we're cool. So yeah, they say at least 85% of the class, which is, it said 3 earlier and it says 4 here. That these syllabi are so long, every now and then a detail gets missed, but it is 4 classes. So if you missed 3, you're fine. If you missed 4, that would not be fine. So it's essentially 2 weeks worth of classes. So if I see that you've missed or have not completed 2 weeks of assignments from the MDE 54, that says, oh, I can withdraw you. Late work, makeup work, there's no official work for this course that you have to earn a percentage for, so I never lock any of those grades. The problem is, if you say, I'm not going to do any of this until 5 weeks into the course, it's just 2 weeks worth of time off. So that means if I'm not seeing any participation for 2 weeks, you're gone. So maybe you did study skills, getting used to Excel, number sense, and you skipped note taking, and then you did this one and this one and this one. That's not a big deal. That's fine. Yeah, I can see active participation. And again, none of these assignments will ever have due dates, so you can always go and work on them later, but make sure you're doing something along the way. Classroom behavior, we've already talked about. Keep your mics on mute, just to keep things as simple as possible, unless there's a day where I ask everyone to unmic for like trying to do a group activity, which don't expect me to do that. I tried it once last semester and it went horribly wrong. It's just a challenge. I know that, some of y'all are probably at work right now. Some of you are babysitting right now. Some of y'all got kids doing their own lectures and Zooming on another laptop. And some of you have pets that you're taking care of and puppies that are doing their deeds in the house, and you're yelling and screaming at them to get out and whatever. So it's just really hard to have people mic'd in scenarios like this. And I know I've got one colleague who manages to do this successfully, and I don't know how. I really don't. But yeah, let's just all be nice to each other, and that's how we'll do well in this course. We already talked about inclement weather, or electronic devices, excuse me. Inclement weather, sign up for Tcc Alerts if you haven't already. My classic story is there was a time where I did not have Tcc Alerts. It snowed early in the morning. The news had not canceled. The news had not said classes were canceled yet, so I left for work. It took me an hour to get there. Campus was empty because at some point during that drive, TCC sent out an alert that I could have then heard my phone buzz, pulled over, quickly looked at it, said, oh, okay, I can go back home. So instead, I then had to take the hour drive back home, and I signed up for TCC Alerts immediately, and I suggest you do the same. Text messages, emails, it's all good stuff. Emergency procedures, shut down the college. I mean, just TCC Alerts, watch out for that. If we were to go back on campus for whatever reason, it's just usual stuff there. I don't feel like I need to focus on that too much. We've already heavily talked about the withdrawal policy, except for the dates. Actually, no, we did talk about the dates earlier. January 27th, tuition refund. March 26th is the W date. If you try and withdraw after that, you're going to need an extenuating circumstance and paperwork to get a W instead of the F, like you moved to Canada or you're 9 months pregnant or something like that. Nothing that we really need to read about. Many talented faculty and staff are here to help. Also, the students are talented as well. Plagiarism, academic misconduct in MDE 54. What the heck are you going to plagiarize? I don't even know. There's no percentage grades. This is for your own benefit. Be proactive. What's the point of you taking this MDE 54 course? Why are you here? I know why you're here, because you want a job somewhere else. You want to make some more bread. Think about that money you're going to make later. Think about that shiny new job that you can then pay rent and or a mortgage and retire and not have to work to the grave. That's why you're here. Think about that and use that as positive energy to put your best foot forward and be successful. Educational accessibility, if you have any documentation, that sounds weird. If you have any documentation, please email it to me. I will accommodate you in every way possible that TCC form says. It has to be a TCC form. I know that some of you have already emailed me. I will be getting back to those emails in the next day or two, but I am completely swamped with setting up 6 classes with almost 200 students. So yeah, that's just one thing I had to put on pause, and I know a lot of you asked me about that. If the accommodation has anything to do with testing, please remind me of that the week of testing. Again, I just said I have almost 200 students, and I've already seen, I'm not going to say the number, but I have seen a decent amount of these forms in my email already, and it's very difficult to keep track of those across 6 classes and 200 students. So it would be better for everyone if you just email me and remind me, and I'll go, absolutely. That way I don't accidentally not accommodate you, because I absolutely will accommodate you. I follow the rules, unlike some other professors at other schools. I would love to throw some shade at a Virginia university for that, but I will not, because this is going to be on the internet. Emergency procedures, I really think the only thing that we could have is stuff dealing with home, like your internet's out because of a hurricane or a snowstorm or something like that. If your internet's out, shoot me an email and just say, hey, I'm going to watch the lecture later. If my internet's out and I don't have anything pre-recorded, then that just means I'm going to have to we'll either miss the class, or I'll see if I can get something put together later, or maybe take a video from a previous semester and just use that. That's a good alternative. So if that happened, I would say, you know, hey, if I say any dates in here, just completely ignore those. If I say anything about 2020, just ignore those. 2021 is just the sequel to 2020. What is it, like December 41st right now, or 42nd of 2020? I know. Bad jokes are bad. We don't discriminate. Title IX, obviously. Library is awesome if and when they're open. Their hours would be posted outside. If the Academic Support Services, the Learning Resource Center is open, their hours would be posted outside. I believe they're going to be doing digital online tutoring again this semester, which would be via Zoom. I will get you that link as soon as I have the link, as soon as their hours are posted. Excellent, most excellent websites for math. If you are rusty and this MDE material, the Mymathlab stuff, if that isn't enough, Khan Academy. I've heard so many awesome swan song stories of Khan Academy, especially for basics like adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing fractions, decimals, percents, sign numbers, whatnot. Purple Math, also pretty solid. I would say I've actually used Purple Math a little more in Khan Academy just because I trust what everyone comes to me and says. I have used a little of both, but I've got a little more experience with Purple Math, although it's been a couple years, admittedly. So you've finished all the MDE homework and you still feel rusty. You've watched the lectures and you still feel rusty. What do? Go to the tutoring center, try out Khan Academy, try Purple Math, try out YouTube. Maybe you can find some awesome teacher on YouTube who just communicates things better. You know, I would hope that I'm a solid teacher. I definitely feel that way. I've had a lot of people tell me that. I know I can talk too fast sometimes for some people. So if I talk too fast for you, maybe someone on YouTube or another professor at TCC would talk slower, and maybe that's better for you. Again, with the replays on YouTube, there's a little setting wheel at the bottom right of the video that you can use to play back at 75% speed. And then you can get me talking at a much slower pace. So, again, I know I talk fast, but I have a lot of information to convey. I know sometimes I say things twice, but it's tough to get everything all in one compressed form. The people that talk slower, I feel like they don't always get everything said and everything done and all the material finished, and I'm here to finish the material. All right, so Canvas. We use Canvas for this course lightly. We use it heavily for Math 154 and lightly for 54. We're much more about Mymathlab here. So just really quickly, because it's quicker, what's the Canvas course look like? Somebody messaged me. I'll get that later. So learning support for quantitative reasoning. First of all, I put that pre-day one, the email I sent yesterday, in case anyone signs up later. So that way they know they have to get into Mymathlab within 24 hours essentially, or they're booted, and all the other details. And then here's the live link to the lectures. So if you had clicked this, you would be watching today. You probably, or you more than likely did through the email, but if you don't want to have to open that email every single time, you just open Canvas and here is the lecture. Now, I've heard some people say that they can't find this course in Canvas, and that's because they didn't go in through My TCC. You have to go through My TCC and Canvas, and that will bring you to our course. For some reason, my courses are not set up. If you just go to like canvas.com or whatever it is, it won't pull up that way. I think there are some teachers that do some special things to make that work, and I mean, this is enough. I can only juggle so many juggling balls. I can only juggle so many things. So not a lot of things in here. And if you see a little circle with a slash through it, that means it's not available yet. This little website's to help you with your finances. That'll be one of the last things I actually load. Some TCC information. And then what's going to happen is after I finish this lecture, sometime within 4 or 5 hours, there'll be another link below it. And that will be exactly what you're watching. It will take you to YouTube and it'll be day one's lecture. And then after I do day two's lecture and I upload it to YouTube, you'll see it below. So the top one is always the live lecture. If anything happens, if I wake up sick and I can't live lecture, I usually try and change this to say something like class is canceled. I also send out emails if I've got enough time. But that's why I highly suggest that you're accessing the course through here. That way you don't sit in an empty course for like 15 minutes and wonder, where the heck is everybody? Yeah, something happened, something went wrong. My internet's out. If my internet's out, I'm not gonna be able to update that, obviously. So yeah, if there's ever a class and it's just not up, well, why isn't he here? He's supposed to be live. Why isn't he here? It's probably because I'm out of internet. That happened 2 or 3 times last semester. I live in a part of Portsmouth that is just the land of pine trees. I have like 16 in my yard, and let me tell you, pine trees hate power lines. So if we get 15 to 20 mile an hour winds, I pretty much lose power and internet, guaranteed. But again, I do have a whole semester's worth of recordings already set up. So worst case, I might just say, hey, here's a link to last semester's version of what I was going to do today. And I changed things, so it might not be exactly what I would have done, but it would be good enough. You don't access Mymathlab through Canvas. You just go to mymathlab.com. All right, so we finished the syllabus. Yes, so we're done with that. So we talked about Canvas. Let's talk a little bit more about Mymathlab. So study skills. Here's a question. Multiple choice. I'm not even going to read them. I'm just going to guess. Oh, I got it wrong. Okay, it's going to give me a second attempt. I'm going to guess the same thing. What is it they say about insanity? Doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results? Guess I'm insane. All right, so it says, all right, the correct answer was A. And then you got a try again button or a similar exercise button if you hit this question and then you go back to it. So next question, go back and you get try again, or if it actually has numbers in it, similar example. So we get try again and it just resets. And it probably shuffles these if it's multiple choice. Is it B? No, is it? Well, it was A last time. Maybe it's A again. Oh, it was the same thing. So it didn't shuffle all of them if it shuffled any of them. And now I have it right. That's it. It's saved permanently if I close it. Sorry, I got a menu covering up that you can't see. And then I go back in and it's still there. I don't have to hit save after every single example. When you submit a problem and you get that green check, it is saved. I mean, within like a half a second or a second, something like that. Don't just click it and then immediately close it. That might not work out perfectly. So these non-math questions, they tend to be multiple choice things, tend to be. And as I said, we'll be going over some but not all of these in class. I will act like I don't know the answer sometimes. Sometimes I'll act like I know the answer. I might ask y'all for a push in the right direction here and there, so you can just answer in chat what you think it is and maybe even say why. So we'll do some of those in class, and then you can do them on your own, and those questions are exactly the same. And then we'll have some actual math problems that, again, some will do in class, not all. Oh, so the population was 9 million people. It decreased by 2.2 million. Find the present population. Oh, it's 5 people. That's it. Well, that's wrong. Oh, okay. Oh, it was 5 million people. That's what I forgot. I forgot my millions. See, this is me being silly. No, that's still wrong. Sometimes it even tells you exactly what to do. Subtract. Oh, well, maybe it's telling me I'm wrong because of the commas. It's not, but okay, so then it tells me the correct answer and I can hit similar question. Now it says 8 million decreased by 5.6 million. All right, so I got to do essentially 80 minus 56, which would be 24, so it's 2.4 million. Is that right? Is that the right number of zeros? Some people really need those commas, so let me do it with the commas, just to make it a little easier. But this would have worked with or without the commas. And there we go. Now we got it, and we can move on. Let's say we didn't know how to do this. I would say 90% or more problems have these 2 tabs, which, by the way, don't do the Ask My Instructor tab. You got to stick to these 2. Help me solve this or view an example. Help me solve this will just take you through the problem. It tells you exactly what to do. It shows you an example. But then it will also ask you for some input along the way. Oh, 10 minus 6. Well, that's 4. Okay. And there's a reason it was asking me to do that, which was relevant there if we had read. And we can take notes off of this. Shows the borrowing aspect. Oh, well, it's 7 minus 5, too. And there we go. So then all we just have is those other zeros. And here we got to put the 2 again. Therefore, the answer is 2.4 million. So that was when we did 8 million minus 56, 5.6 million. Now, if I hadn't answered this correctly already, when I close this, you would see these numbers change when you do help me solve this. Let me show you. So here's a different problem. How old is someone if they died, blah, blah, blah. So continue, continue, continue. So we do this, 1. Continue. 18 minus 9 would be 9. Continue, continue. 8 minus 8 is 0. Continue, continue. 1 minus 1 is 0. This one is very tedious. All right, so there we go. The sum turns out to be blah, blah, blah. He was about 91 years old. So you take good notes, you follow what they're doing. The inputs along the way keep you engaged. Now, when I close this, watch what happens to the numbers 1896 and 1987. Watch what happens. 1896 and 1987, they've changed. So help me solve this. We'll take the original numbers you had, but by the time you finish it, because you've done it, they don't want to just give you the answer. They want you to try it on your own, so they'll change any numbers that are relative, and then you can go through it. If you had done view an example, this is pretty much the same thing, except they don't ask you to literally type anything along the way. You can just keep going and going and going. So because they used different numbers than were originally said, it doesn't change the original problem. So some students prefer view an example. Some students prefer help me solve this. I don't care which one you do. I want you to do the one you like more. I would say, if you're lazier, you're going to like view an example because you don't have to do anything. But help me solve this keeps you more engaged, in my opinion. And I'm not saying that people can't learn from view an example. If you are going to use your financial aid, I cannot 100% say that I know this answer. I used to be able to say I know the answer because in the past, if you purchased it through Mymathlab, they would not give you the financial aid money for it. I have heard through the grapevine that that has changed and that you might be able to purchase through Mymathlab, but find out from someone who actually knows that answer, or just default to getting it through Barnes & Noble. If your financial aid can pay for it, it would be nicer to buy it through Mymathlab because it's a little cheaper. I want to say Mymathlab is like $75, whereas through the bookstore it's about $100 without that guided activity book. And again, as a reminder, the access code for 154 is the same access code for 54. So when you buy that, you only have to buy it once. You do not need to buy an access kit twice. You just buy it once. And then you log into the 154, you log into the 54, type in that 25-digit activation for one of them, and then they're linked, and you're good. And until we change editions, you will still have access for this course for another year or two. So someone in chat is saying financial aid will pay for it. I am not going to 100% say, I hope that they're right. I'm not 100% saying that they are correct. I hope that they are correct, but I don't want to definitively back that answer because I haven't been told by a supervisor or anything like that. So they're saying it's cool. Maybe talk to financial aid personally to confirm that, or trust the student. But again, this is not me saying it. I just want to make that clear so you don't come after me. Someone else is backing it, and I'm assuming that they're meaning that they bought it through Mymathlab, not the bookstore. Again, the bookstore definitely covers it. It's the Mymathlab part that we're questioning. So I hope they're right, or I hope that we're all talking about the same thing. All right. The e-text. So remember, there is no physical textbook. The only physical book is the workbook or guided worksheets or guided activities, whatever you want to call that. It's small, it's like 100 pages. We'll talk about some of them during the course in here. We use them in 154 very regularly. We use them sporadically or intermittently in 54. but we will use this textbook occasionally. This is the exact same textbook as 154. So you pick your chapter you're in. We'll be starting in chapter 0 with 154, which is all about Excel. And this happens to me about 50% of the time. So then I close it and then I just try and open it again, and it generally works. See, that's why we say, hey, you got to try things. You just can't do them on the fly. And there we go. 50% of the time it works. There's your textbook. Again, the physical version of this does not exist. You'll see that the guided workbook has some chapter 0 stuff, and it's some very similar stuff. Some of it's identical, in fact, but it is not exactly the textbook. This is an ebook because there are hyperlinks. You can click things. That's weird. Something has changed because I should be able to click the blue, but you can see the link to it is a little lower, and then it'll pull up a definition or go away menu y'all can't see, or a little video. It's on mute. So here's a video where the author is talking and he's introducing some things in Excel that you'll hear me say and see me operate. This is something we'll actually be working on together in 154 and possibly 54. So that's the good thing about this textbook, is that it's interactive. Use the textbook. So many students don't want to use the textbook, and it is awesome. These little bubbles here can be really helpful, really good hints along what you should be doing, or a quick just memo that's super, super important that you might need over and over and over. It's kind of funny because some of these pages look weird. This page looks squished. I'm gonna say the browser changed or their textbook reader changed, something like that. It's fine. And yeah, I'm seeing some people going back to the chat and talking about how they did get it through the bookstore, not online. There was some confusion, which is why I was very adamant about making sure people said where they were talking about. All right, so that's our textbook. The guided activities. So you go to the bookstore, you got 2 options. You go online, you got 2 options. The first one doesn't have the workbook, the second one does. The more expensive one does. I say it's an optional purchase because you can access them online. You just go to the chapter you want to get the worksheets of from the eText. So it's eText. So you'll want to see chapter 0. Chapter 0 guided worksheets. Open that up. You can save these. There's a little save button right here that every time I hover over it, my other menus are pulling up, so I can't see it now, and now it's gone. But there's the save icon. So that way you don't have to pull them up every day. You could go ahead and download all 9 chapters worth, which is chapter 0, well, I guess 10 technically. Chapters 0 through 6, and then 8, 9, and 10. Those are the ones we'll use. You can print these on your own, or you can just access them digitally. If you're someone who really likes to have physical notes and you'd like to, oh, well, there's spots for definitions here, and there's spots to write little answers to things and blurbs, answer some questions. You could have those in your own personal notes, or you could have printed this out and written them down here. That's the benefit of buying the guided workbook, because now you've got this thing organized neatly for you, and you can have your answers there and refer back to them later. Someone asked a question and I'm gonna pull it up. It's not that one. Oh, you can see I typed in some garbage there. I'm pulling this up to answer a question. To get Excel and the entire Office suite for free, you go to office.vccs.edu, and then you will type in your VCCS credentials, your TCC login information, something like bdole0005@email.vccs.edu. And then boom, there's your Microsoft suite. There's your Excel package. You have to use the downloadable version of Excel. If you're using the version that's in a web page, you will get answers wrong in the 154 homework. I guarantee it. There will be things you can't even do. If you're using Apple's, I think they call it Numbers program, you will get answers wrong in the homework because there's things that Numbers can't do or does differently. A lot of the times we'll have to use pre-formatted charts, which we'll talk about later. not today, later in the week. And Numbers won't have that, or the online version of Excel won't have that. You have to have the download version. You cannot have a Chromebook, or I've really got to remember what those other types of things like Chromebooks are, but there are 2 or 3 types of what we call proprietary laptops. So a Chromebook is by Google. They don't let you install Microsoft Suite onto it, which means if you have a Chromebook, you're only going to be able to use the online version of Excel, and you will lose points in homework because of that. I guarantee it. So if you have a Chromebook right now, if you plan on doing Excel on a Chromebook, please don't. Please try and find another source to do that on, a friend's laptop, a family's laptop, or PC, whatever. If you aren't afraid to go public and go to a library or something and use their computers and internet, then you can do that as well. I'm obviously not telling you what to do, how safe or not safe to be. That is your life. But a Chromebook and then the other type of proprietary laptop, they will not work for this course. I'm going to see if I can multitask. I'm still here. I'm just trying to find the name of the other type because I really don't ever hear people talk about it. If you have an Apple computer, you can install the Microsoft package. It's not going to just stop working. Yeah, I'm not seeing it. Okay, and I don't want to just waste a bunch of time. All right, so back to where I was before I got distracted. That's okay. So we talked about the guided activities, the worksheets. Again, I might use those occasionally in class, but I would never assign anything in 54 for those guided activities. That's all 154 stuff. You will notice that where did it go? Oh, that's interesting. They actually don't put it in here. That's perfect. So in the 154 course, those guided worksheets are on this tab as well, but they're not here. That's perfect. I actually prefer that because it's the entire book's worth instead of just one chapter at a time, so printing would be a nightmare from there. Your grade book is not really going to do anything for MDE 54. I'm not grading anything. You're just going to see what you did and how much you did. Oh man, I answered one question. I'm doing okay. But again, no official A, B, C, D, F grades in here. It's just, I'm going to look for participation. If I see participation, you're golden. If I stop seeing participation, you're withdrawn after a couple weeks, and that's it. Video and resource library. If you're my 154 student, you know that we've talked about this and how I'll do some quizzes based off of it. And I do quizzes based off of them because it's an excellent resource. And I need everybody to remember it's there, because when I used to not do quizzes on it, nobody would ever use them. So if you're not my 154 student and this is the first time you're seeing, you go to the video and resource tab. If you want to see all chapters worth, you just leave it at all chapters. If you only want to look at one chapter, just select the chapter you want. Orientation's not going to have anything, so spreadsheet basics, and then you click video. So if I go to spreadsheet basics and then video, it's going to give me a whole bunch of tutorial videos all about Excel. Some of these you will not need, like anything having to do with t-test and go-to and ifs and min-max. We don't do any of that, but a lot of this stuff in the top half, calculating percentage rate of increase, that's kind of specific. Filling formulas, that's something we will do over and over and over. Formatting cells, that's something we do over and over and over and over. How to save a file, that's something we will be doing constantly as well. Inserting columns or rows, that in case you need to adjust something. So these are some great resources where, okay, you saw me in my 1.5 hours or 1 hour, 15-minute sections basically introduce these things in Excel. But maybe you don't want to have to cut through 2.5 hours worth of stuff. You just say, all right, I can't remember how to fill out a formula. So you pull up this 6-minute video and it's just an abridged version of it. So please check out these tutorial videos, especially when you're struggling with Excel, because I know that 1/4 to 1/2 of you are going to struggle with Excel. You have got to invest the time and the effort into it. But there are videos for all chapters. So if you need non-Excel stuff, here's some stuff from chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. Anything that says PKA is actually more relevant for our course, this MDE 54. That means prior knowledge activation. It means the prereq material for 154, that basic arithmetic, some extra stuff dealing with the spreadsheets. So BMI, heart rate, these are both spreadsheets that are going to be assigned. So if you're struggling, you come in here and maybe that can push you in the right direction. You'll see the PKA assignments stop after chapter 4. I don't know exactly, or sorry, after chapter 3, technically. I don't know why. I have no control over that. That's just what they put in. I guess because the basic math is already supposed to be done at that point. Once you're at a chapter 3, you should have all the understanding of adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing fractions, decimals, percents, sign numbers, all that good stuff. Now, again, you are allowed calculators throughout this whole course, but your calculator is not always going to save you. If you just go punching numbers in your calculator and you don't know how to do this stuff, you're going to trust the answer 100% of the time. Maybe you fat fingered the calculator and you typoed somewhere. Maybe you weren't paying attention and you made a mistake somewhere. Or maybe you're used to one calculator where you have to hit the negative button first, and you're using your friend's calculator where you have to hit the negative button second, and you're not sure why, and you get an answer that's wrong because of that change in processes. What else do we need to talk about? Let's go back to the helpful tips to start, because there are a few things in here I wanted to point out. Oh yeah, we were going to show you how to enroll in Mymathlab. So let's just pull up another Mymathlab tab. So you're going to go to mymathlab.com. It changes the website after you type it and hit enter, but mymathlab.com, and you hit enter. You're going to click register now as a student, and all of these instructions are in that helpful tips to start file, which is also in your Canvas shell. So how to create an account. It tells you exactly what to do here, which is what I'm about to do. So I already clicked the register now as a student. It tells you the things you'll need: email, instructor, course ID, your code or PayPal or credit card, whatever. You click OK, register now. You type in your code here, which will be Beckner, and then some 5-digit number, which was 48336 for this course in the spring of 2021. And it'll show our course on the right, taught by me. And then if you already have an account, if you created it for 154, you can just sign in and everything's going to be peachy. If you have not done that yet, then you'll click the middle button, which is create. Use whatever email address you want, username you want. Can be your email address or something else. Make your password. Write this stuff down. Double check your email address. If you're using your TCC email, which we prefer, it's going to be something like bdole0008 at email.vccs.edu. If you screw that up, if you type it wrong, if you miss a C or a section of it, you're never going to log in again. Or when you finally do log in again, you're going to have to go and change your email address that's set up for it. If I sent any announcements through Mymathlab, which I generally don't do for this course, it would be sent to an email that doesn't exist. So enter all this stuff, agree to their terms of use, click one of those if it applies to you. You can click I do not wish to receive if you want to, or click it, whatever. Don't click it, I don't care. I think if you click this one, then they don't even ask to email you. And then you'll hit create account. Now I can't go past this page or else I'll make a duplicate account for myself, and I don't want that. So what I did is I drew up what the page after this looks like, and I've had several emails, chat questions about this. This is where the 14-day free trial is on the next screen. So when you go to the next screen, there should be a button here that says use your code. There should be a button here that says buy your code for like $75, probably. And then down here in small font, not a big button because they don't want you to see it, is your 14-day free trial. It doesn't say 14-day free trial exactly. It'll say something along those lines. Once again, if I don't see your name in Mymathlab in MDE 54 by 5 p.m. tomorrow, I will remove you from the course and you will not be allowed back in. It takes 5 minutes to sign up. If you sign up in 154 and you're my student in 54 and you forget 54, same thing applies. You have to sign up for both. If you sign up for MDE but not MTH, if you sign up for MTH but not MDE, if you sign up for neither, you're gone. If you sign up for both, or if you're just my MDE student and you sign up for just the MDE, then you're cool. That's all I ask. 5 minutes of your time on day one. day 2. That's your homework. That's it. All right, back to the helpful tips. Sorry, I did not have time to mute for that one. This helpful tips tells you how to get to your Excel files and what to do if you're my 154 student or for whatever 154 you're in. How to get to those course videos, which we already talked about. Submitting Mymathlab homework, we talked about. Getting to the workbook if you don't have the physical copy, we talked about. Getting your free copy of Excel that you download, don't use on the internet. There it is. And again, substitute programs like Apple's Numbers or Google Sheets or whatever OpenOffice calls theirs cannot be used. You will lose lots of points. For my MTH students, I post the class notes in advance. I don't do that for MDE because we just kind of go more online based for everything. So that's not a big deal for us. That's not a big deal for us. This is not a high school class. You won't earn a passing grade in 154 and 54 for doing nothing. You have to at least do some of the assignments or some of each assignment, that is to say. I will not give you extra credit at the end of the semester, all that stuff. But yeah, this isn't grade 13. This is the real world. You are responsible for yourself. But if you try, if you put in effort, you can do lots of awesome things. But you got to invest the time. You got to invest yourself. You got to believe in yourself. You got to know that you can grow. And even with all those aspects in mind, some people still might not pass the course this semester. And if that happens to you, you fell and you get back up, and then you'll pass it next semester because you've already seen half this stuff before. You'll be more prepared for it. And again, that's not the goal I want you to have right now, but I just want you to understand that if you do fail a course, whether it's this course or something else, it's not the end of the world. It doesn't mean that you've done something terrible. It just means that you need to learn something from it because we learn from our mistakes. I already said email me if I'm not your 154 student. Everything else, yeah, we're good. So if you have any questions, you can feel free to ask. Besides that, that's it for the day. That's all I've got for you. I'll pull up that course ID one more time. But it was emailed to you. Everything you needed was emailed to you, I believe. But there's the course ID. No excuses for not being in. I know I've got a couple of you already. Email rbeckner@tcc.edu. I hope that we can have an awesome time this semester. I hope that we can learn. I hope that I can help you be more numerate. I hope I can help you be better than the average American with $10,000 worth of credit card debt, no retirement plan, going to work to the grave. I hope that I can help you decide between two products at the grocery store. I hope that I can help you calculate your own grade so you don't have to email your professors asking for it. I hope that I can teach you how to look at some chart in the newspaper or on an online article and tell whether you should even bother with this chart or not, if it's got too much information, if it's trying to mislead you. These are the things that I want you to be good at, and I hope that I can help you at. But for a lot of us, we got to take our baby steps first and learn the basics, the fractions, the decimals, sign numbers, percents, all that stuff. And that stuff will come at you quick. We will be going pretty quickly through that stuff. So, I may only spend 15, 20 minutes on a topic. You may have to spend several hours. It just depends on where you are in math. So I do wish you the best of luck. I will answer any questions you have. I hope that this has been a helpful introduction day. We will get into some more topics on Wednesday. All right, everybody, have a good one. Take care.